Hey everybody, it's your girl Barbie J here, and we are finally back with the Equalizer after missing 2 weeks. The Oscars was 1 week, and the Grammys was the next week, and now here we are with season 2, episode 14, Pulse. And one thing I hate about these little breaks in between these shows, these episodes, is that people fall off. People don't know when it's coming back on and they fall off, and our black shows get left hanging. They used to do that a lot with Our Kind of People, and there was another show. Was it Queens or something like that? Where I get tired with all of these breaks and interruptions in between, and people stop watching. So now they got to build up their viewing all over again. So let me get on with it. And before I get on with it first, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please take a moment right now and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell and select all. It'll let you know every time I upload any new video skill content. Also, then I ask that you smash that like button, write a comment, and share the video if you feel so doing. So this episode was about a young woman named Marcela Mendez. We find out later she was on a rooftop spying on some men, and then I don't know what they were doing, but then two guys opened the roof door and saw her, and she runs towards the door while it's opening, and she starts fighting with them, and she end up killing them both. Okay, but what we learn is her name is Marcela Mendez, and she's a CIA agent. Then it briefly switched over to Aunt Vi and Robin chatting in the kitchen, and Delilah comes in and shows Robin a news article about Detective Dante on her cell phone. And she's showing him and asking, did she know about that? And she's like, yeah, she said she knows. She said, are you the one that shot him? Because Detective Dante was the one who was going after her mom, she thought, before. So she says no, and that he's home recuperating. And Delilah's like, oh, like, are you guys friends now? And Robin decides to change the subject. And Vi and Delilah look at each other. And I'm sitting there going, okay. And she said, well, you didn't answer the question. She's like, don't you have somewhere to go? Robin just changed the subject real quick. And Vi said, maybe she just did answer the question. And I'm like, ooh. So anyway, Robin goes to Marcus' house. I'm going to call him Marcus now that he's not a police officer anymore. I'm not going to say the whole Detective Dante. So I'm going to keep calling him Marcus just to let y'all know. So Marcus she goes to his house. His ex-wife, I think her name is Vanessa, answers the door, and she's asking Vanessa, how everyone is doing, how her, the boys, and Marcus. And she tells him, and at that moment, Robin gets a phone call from a woman that was on the rooftop, and she was saying some stuff in code, so Robin was like, I have to leave. So then they show Mel and Harry, and she's telling him that his friend saw him on the street and called her, and he thought he had seen a ghost. So Harry is not interested in reaching out to him right now because he's still upset that his friend didn't attend his funeral. But what we later find out is his friend said he did show up to the church, but he couldn't walk in. He didn't want to see him that way or something like that. So that's why he didn't go in there. Anywho, it goes back to Robin. She calls and asks Harry to look into Marcela Mendez and find out what's up with her. In the meantime, Robin goes to her apartment and finds her dead on the floor, and a man with a gun is at Robin's head. And the guy, we find out his name is Carter Griffin, and he's a CIA agent as well. And he knew he said he was Marcella's handler, whatever that means. I guess it's a person she would go to when there's a problem to handle it, I guess. So he knows Robin, but she wasn't familiar with him. She didn't know him. So I guess she's well known in the CIA agency. I took from that. So basically he told her what's been going on. Since Robin had to ask him, what was this she just walked into? And he said he wasn't the one who killed her. It came from out of this way. And she told him she was there because Marcella called her for the code. And he's like, why didn't she call me? And Robin's like, a good question. And he asked her, Robin knew Marcella, and she said she was her student. And Robin started thinking about and remembering her as Marcella as a student. So as Robin was looking over the scene, she found a chip under Marcella's fingernail, which Robin had once told her is a good place to hide a nano chip because men never think of checking there. So of course that was a good thing she did that. Anyway, Robin asked Carter for more information about but he refused. He refused to tell her any of the CIA business, you know. So she was like, okay. But Robin states she called her for a reason, that Marcella called her for a reason and was killed by a professional. So Robin took the chip, didn't tell this guy, I think his name, like I'm going to call him by his last name, Griffin. She didn't tell him she found that chip under the nail, and she gave the chip to Harry. In fact, Harry found out what was on it. So they learned that someone is coming into the U.S. on a private jet, and Harry and Mel do surveillance at the airport. Meantime, Robin goes undercover and meets a young woman from a picture she saw, and she started about this lady Chin Ying or something like that. So she talks to the woman, and then she notices that the woman is wearing the bracelet that Chin Ying had on in the picture. And she was like, oh, it's a beautiful bracelet. And she said, oh, yeah, Chin gave it to me before she went back to China or something like that. So when Robin's thanking her for the information she gave her, and Robin shakes her hand, and as she shakes her hand, somehow she gets the bracelet off the girl's arm. You know, the girl didn't even notice it missing. It's so weird. And it also contained some kind of chip or compartment or something that had some information. And she brought that to Harry, and Harry finds out the info on that chip as well. And the info was in Chinese, and I didn't know that Robin knows how to read Chinese. Did we know that? I don't recall that at all. So then they Harry and Mel show Robin the pics from their surveillance, and Robin recognizes the man, and her facial expression is like, oh my God. And his name is Mason Quinn, and he tried to kill her, and the CIA let him go. She called him a murderer. She said they let that murderer go. And Robin said, if Quinn is operating in this city, no one is safe. Bishop had given her a file with intel on Quinn and warned her never to look at it because she wouldn't be able to help herself and go after him. And they also suggested she sit this one out. That's Harry and Mel. But Robin couldn't help herself, and she opened that envelope. She went home and opened that envelope, and it was just, it's like fire in her eyes. And the last time her obsession with getting that man almost got her killed, we learned. And Robin decides to meet with Griffin, who she doesn't trust, and asks for his help. Because Harry and them wanted to help her, but she told them no. She wouldn't allow Harry and Mel to help her because she didn't want them to get in trouble like they did before when that whole CIA thing happened. So then they switch back quickly to Vanessa, and she has been helping, Marcus, that's his ex-wife. She's been running errands for him. They have the two boys together. So she tells him that his friend stopped by, talking about Robin, and he smiled. He said, oh, yeah, I thought I heard her voice. And she stated, Robin, that she really cares about you. And she said, from that little smile I just saw on your face, I could tell the feeling is mutual. I was like, oh, okay now. All right now. So then when it switches back to Griffin, he gets back to Robin with info because Robin met with Griffin, just say, if I need your help, and if you help me, I'll know you're not involved or something like that. So anyway, he gets back to her with the info that Bishop is involved some way with this guy, and they learn that the name Willow that keeps showing up on all the files that they've gotten, all of these discs or, little chips and stuff, it's not a person, it's actually a weapon, and this dangerous man Quinn is about to get his hands on it. So Robin decides she's going to find the shipment that is supposed to be carrying and contain this weapon, and she won't let Harry and Mel go with her. So they saying she needs some kind of backup to have, and they suggest Griffin. So she gets him and he goes with her, and they find the crate that had the weapon in it, but it's empty. And then two men come up behind them with guns, and they unarm them and ask where's the weapon. So they somehow, this is not Quinn, what's his name? I said Griffin and Robin. They somehow get the guys to tell them after first they were refusing to tell, and they bust them upside the head a couple of times or something like that. But Robin, you see now Robin's in a car driving with Griffin, and she said, Harry, I need that big brain of yours. I'm hoping Griffin is not, and I'm hoping Griffin is not noticing all of this, because I don't know if she can trust him. We're still trying to figure out if she can trust him or not, but she's open to talking in front of him. So I was hoping he was still trustworthy. But they just showed a scene that made it look like Griffin was talking to one of Quinn's men. So I was like, oh, is he a good guy or a bad guy? So anyway, the flight that Quinn is targeting has Bishop on it. And Robin's asking Harry to compromise himself with the CIA to help Bishop by getting in touch with the flight's pilot to warn them, the flight that Bishop was on, and warn them. And upon arrival, Robin is telling Griffin she has a plan, because they get to the place where the bad guys are with the weapon. I'm gonna call them the bad guys. It sounds funny. The bad guys are with the weapon. And then she all of a sudden she turned around. She has several guns pointing at her. So it looked to me, when it went to commercial, that it looked like Griffin was part of it, like he was a dirty cop, and they would point. He was with the bad guys pointing it at him, but it turned out I was wrong, because when it came back from commercial, they both were handcuffed. So Robin and Griffin had to stand there and watch as they shoot down the daggone plane. And Harry was like fiercely trying to get in touch with these people, and they thought he was a scam guy, and they would tell him he better have a good lawyer, because what he's doing is illegal and all this stuff. And Harry finally gets the pilot to listen to him and tells him, are you Bishop's security? Because somebody got on the phone and said they were security. So he said, are you Bishop's security? Please tell him that McCall is saying everyone on the plane is in danger, please. And so next thing, they came back and said, Bishop says, okay, and they're going to divert the plane, and it's emergency. And they're like, Mayday, Mayday, but it was too late. The bad guys hit that machine, and the plane was hit, and it went down into the ocean. So Robin was upset and mad as hell. She really was. You could see it on her face. She couldn't do nothing. She was helpless. So Quinn tells his men to kill Robin and Griffin, and tears are rolling down her face. And she closed her eyes, and next thing you know, Mel is there shooting, because Mel told Harry, I gotta go. You gotta do this on your own. She's leaving herself open. She needs backup. And good thing she went, because she was up there on the top. I guess it was like a rooftop. And she saw them put that gun to Robin's head. And she shot that man. And she shot a couple of more. And then Robin put up her hands. Let me tell you how good Mel is. Robin put up her hands. And Mel shot the fist. What are those things up? Those little plastic cuffs. She shot it off of Robin's hand. And separated and split. I was like, oh man, she is good. She real good. Anyway, so I was getting excited at that point. Robin picked up a gun and she started killing a couple of more people. The other guy, what's his name? Griffin. He caught one of Quinn's men and bust him upside the head. He was still handcuffed though, and knocked him to the ground. So Robin then goes looking for Quinn, and he had jumped in a helicopter and was getting away. And Robin went to get that machine, that weapon, that dangerous weapon, and she was going to use it to shoot him down. But Mel stopped her and said, please, I know you want to get him, but don't do it. You got to think of the collateral damage when it falls down. The helicopter falls down over a Queens neighborhood somewhere, and it might kill somebody, innocent people out there. So Robin was pissed and she stopped. and she didn't do it. So he did get away. He gets away, and Bishop is dead, and Robin is sad and pissed at the same time. So she's sitting in her car, and her cell phone rings, and the name says Bishop is calling. She's like, "What?" And she answers it quick, "Bishop, Bishop," thinking it was him, but instead it was Quinn threatening her, saying that, this was the second time that you got in my way, and next time I'm coming for you. And she was just so upset and hurt. But you know what, y'all? We expected them to kill Bishop off. For those who follow the show and know who the characters are, the gentleman who plays Bishop is Chris North. And Chris North was he was in um he got into some trouble. He got into some trouble in real life. Let's just put it that way, where the show was probably saying we can no longer allow your character to stay on this show. So we knew they were going to kill him off at some point. So this is not a surprise to me. If they had let him live, I would have been very surprised. Anyway, it ended with Harry. He called his friend to meet with him because after all that's been going on, he was stating that life is too short, and it really is. You got to hold on to the friends you have. And his friend was so happy to learn that he was still alive, and he just hugged him and hugged him real tight. It was like, God is good. Gosh is good to, see you. And then it ended also with Robin showing up at Marcus's house saying she just lost a friend, and a really good friend, she said. And you could see the tears in her eyes. And she said, I just lost a really good friend today, and I needed someone to talk to. And he was standing there looking at her because he could tell. He was like, "Are you okay?" And so with those tears in her eyes, Marcus said, "You're not alone in that. You want to come in for some coffee?" And she goes inside. And that is how this episode ended. It was really good, challenging. Like I said, all these episodes are really good. They're actually good episodes, but some of them are so detailed and technical that I can't understand. That's why it takes me so long to write everything down and get the details. Really good episode, like I said. And I hope y'all enjoyed it as well. So please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. It's your girl Barbie J saying peace.